Hello, Amplify You family. Michelle Abraham here, your host. I'm back today with you with another great guest for our interview behind the mic with the host of Oh My Health. There is Hope podcast, Jana Short. Jana, I just met recently and saw her speak on a virtual summit coming up, and I thought we have to have Jana on the show. She is just this dynamo, and I'm so excited to dive into the success that your show is having. Not only that, but she is a wellness coach and can really help us figure out all the rights and the wrong things that we're doing as podcast hosts and entrepreneurs, and how we can make the most of our energy and get the most out of our time. So Jana, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I'm really excited.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to dive into this. So Jana, tell me about Oh My Health. I just love the name of it. And it's not just Oh My Health, it's Oh My Health, There Is Hope. And I think this is a really great name for a show, and especially during the time we're in right now. So tell us about how it all started.
I was writing a book called Oh My Health, There's Hope, because I was very sick and thought I was told there was no hope for me. And I literally was that person on the other side of the keyboard typing in desperate for health answers, trying to find a way to survive. And when I was asked to write a book, I realized after weeks of writing and only having 2 chapters that I probably didn't have an entire book in me at the time. But as I'm growing and in my coaching business, the first thing I ask people when I speak to them is, tell me your story. I want to hear your story. And they were always these incredible, powerful stories of hope that led them to doing what they were doing now and made them so passionate about it. And so I compiled these stories in this book, but I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to cause that ripple effect, put that ripple effect out into the world, letting people know that if you're still breathing, there's still hope for you. Because what happens is when I get on stage, they see me looking healthy, and I could see them sitting back with their arms folded, thinking she does not have a clue to what I'm going through. But then that picture of my before pops up on stage, and I hear this gasp of people, and they're leaning forward, like all of a sudden they're engaging in that conversation because they saw that there was hope for me. Maybe there's hope for them. And of course there is. So I wanted to get it out on a podcast. So I started inviting all those people that first were in my book. And then the more stories I heard, the more I'm like, you have to come on my show and share your story of hope with the world. And it's just been really an exciting, incredible experience for me.
Amazing. And we were just chatting before we started recording. Your show's been live for almost a year now, is it? Or over a year?
In August, it'll be a year.
Amazing. And how many downloads are you at?
We're at 75,000. So our goal is it's just something I'm putting out in the universe, but I'm hoping to hit 100,000 by our year anniversary.
Wow. Which is when?
I think it's like August 7th.
Okay, Amplify You listeners, you got a few months to get out there and get reviews on Jana's show, help her hit that milestone, because we know how exciting it is, right? Like, go back and listen to my interview with Ryan Ukomi when he hit 100,000 downloads. We were like so excited, sharing it everywhere. It was so great. You know, that milestone is really hard, and some podcasts never get to that milestone either, which is definitely okay. But it's really a unique, a combination. It's almost like a secret recipe as to how you can actually have a podcast. Sometimes it feels like we're pushing a snowball up a hill with our nose for so long, trying to get reviews and people to see our show. And then all of a sudden you hit this momentum. What was that like for you, Jana, was it a success right out of the get-go, or do you have some momentum build up to your success?
I don't know what you guys are going to determine for your podcast a success. So the success for me is people are actually hearing stories of hope. And the fact that there's so many downloads is just extra for me. So I knew I was successful when I was getting emails back and reviews back saying, oh my gosh, that expert that you had on really was someone I needed at that moment in my life. And it really changed things for me. So that's what I am basing my show's success on. But having said that, it's super exciting to know that I'm not doing it every day and taking all this time away and not having it be really successful as far as people listening to it. So it didn't start out that fast. I will say that once COVID hit and we were all sent home, I'm a mindset coach, and I work with other coaches teaching them about, changing their mindset and opening the doors and how they're working with people online, and that they should be connecting online and not a sales way, but in a connective way, like almost like you were dating. You didn't meet your husband that very first day, right? And say, look, we're getting married. This is the kind of ring I want. We're going to live in this house. You're going to drive that. We'll retire here. We'll have this many kids. They would have ran. But that's what we're all doing online when we're sharing our products, our services, and they don't know you. So they're not going to sign up until you make that connection with them. But when I was talking to these coaches and sharing this with them, it became this very huge collaborative format for us. And I've used that throughout all of my endeavors that I go out into. And it's really helped with the podcast, getting them on, having them share it throughout their social media. Here's a little tip if you're in doing podcasting that will get you a lot of followers. And people are like, are you using a bot? No, I'm not paying any money because I'm not charging any money. So I don't really want to be spewing money out into the podcast. But if you have someone ask to be on your show, tell them, go listen to an episode, make sure it's a fit. And if you like it, leave a review and a rating for me. And that has really worked for me, because if I see someone asking to be on my show and they haven't done that, well, they don't even like it enough to leave a rating and review. And by the way, theirs are the most heartfelt because they know they're coming on the show and they want to use that platform. So I think we have over 1,000, I think it's 1.2 thousand 5-star ratings. And well, there's a very few 4 and 3, but it's mostly, I would say 1,000 5-star ratings. And we have probably 56 written reviews on it, which is like unheard of. So it's because when they reach out to me, I say, go listen, make sure it's where you want to have your platform, your voice be heard. And if it is, leave a rating and review and then book with me. And so they definitely are doing that. And I love it. So those, when you go there and you see them, most of them are past guests or someone who a past guest is sent out to. And I always am asking, leave a review if you liked her show. Let her know like that she gave you value.
I think that's a brilliant strategy, not only with the people that are wanting to be a guest on your show. I've seen that be super successful in a few other shows as well. But I love what you just said. If you like so-and-so as a guest, go leave her a review. So it's, it's not, you're turning it not into, it's my show, go leave me a review. It's like, go leave the guest a review, which I really love that. I think that's a really brilliant strategy. So Amplify You audience, I hope you're listening to that, because that was a really good gem. Thank you, Jana, for that. I think that was a really cool idea in helping promote and helping share that guest message out there as a community. And like you said, sharing collaboratively out there, I think is really a really great way to, we all like doing collaborative things. So I think that's a great way to success. Really cool. Well, how did you come up with the idea for your show?
I wanted to share my story of hope. And I knew that my story wasn't enough, right? It's just not, who wants to hear it over and over? And I can't really build a year's worth of episodes on it. I do like to talk a lot about mindset, because when I tell people my story, I tell them I was sent home to die after 2 months in the hospital, and my hair had fallen out. My nails had come out of the nail beds because I was so malnourished. And I had a brand new grandson. He was 7 weeks old, and my daughter brought him to me to hold. And I was there when he was born, so it wasn't my first meeting, but it occurred to me, because I'm now meeting him maybe for the last time. And it occurred to me that he would not have one memory of me. He could not remember how I smelt, what, I felt like when I held him, or how I laughed, anything simple like that. And I was desperate to make a memory. And immediately there was a shift in my mind, that it wasn't about preparing to die. It was about not even preparing to live. It was about creating a moment that he would remember. And he was our 5th grandchild. So then I started thinking, what kind of memories am I leaving with the rest of my family? And I wanted to have that connection with them and leave those incredible memories and share those messages of hope, which is how my whole business came. That when I got sick, I was an interior designer, a really famous one in LA. And I didn't want to do any of that anymore. It wasn't important for me to have the Prada bag or, the Gucci shoes. None of that mattered anymore, because I realized I'm not taking it with me. But those memories that I am creating with my family, my friends, my clients, anyone that I'm touching, those are huge for me. So the podcast came out of me wanting to create memories and give a hope and put that ripple effect out into the world that could create change for people.
Wow, that's so powerful. I love the idea of it's not about what you can take with you when you go, it's what you're leaving behind. And so powerful. And I love that how you're showcasing like people's stories, the people that you are showcasing, they're not famous, they're not well known, they're not guests that are celebrity, not all of them anyway. Some of them definitely are, but they're people with everyday stories that people can relate to. And do you think that's contributed to the success of the show, that like everyone's story is relatable?
I definitely do. I think that when I'm working with my clients, the first thing I tell them to do is share their story and share it like very authentically. Let down those walls and be vulnerable, because we're asking our clients to do the same thing, especially in health and wellness. We're asking them to share trauma, to share fears, to share like their goals and aspirations. And if we can't tell them where we came from and how we got where we're at and be very authentic about it, you will not ever make that connection to really cause amazing healing in your clients. So I absolutely think that it is important for them to share their story, and a huge part of it. But having said that, we do have some celebrities, and we have one coming out, I believe today or tomorrow, who's an NFL football player who was on the summit. His story was so powerful, because you think, oh, he had it easy, right? NFL player, he got tons of money and everything was easy for him. No. His story was so powerful that not only was I in awe of him when he was finished, I wanted every young kid to hear his story. This was more a story for, well, it's in any development of life, but definitely for young kids to aspire to, because they want that, they can have it, but they got to put in that time, that effort, that they have to work at it. And he just kept remembering something his father told him, is do not let anyone write your story for you. So if this is the end, that's fine, but you write that, not somebody else telling you that's it. And that is what literally moved him through injuries and failures to get him where he's at. So the stories are really powerful.
I think that's so powerful. In fact, I have a meeting with him next week because he's looking at doing a podcast. So here's hope that he's going to have more of his stories coming out to the world. So
He's
that
amazing.
I think that's a really great way to remember, like, don't let anyone write your story. I just loved his message too. It's really powerful. Amazing. So Jenna, anything if some of our audiences maybe at home thinking about, I'd love to do a podcast, I just not 100% sure. Thinking back to when you first started your show, what would you say to that person today?
Just do it.
And
Seriously,
do
just
it
do it.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yes. Like if you have a passion that you need to get out into the world, if it's helping people as moms, how do I work with moms? Because I know that it's a crazy time for them and they forget about themselves, because I raised 4 children of my own who are all older now with kids of their own. But there were times that they had the flu and so did I. And I could not pick up the phone and call in sick and say, sorry, I am not coming in today. You're on your own. You have to show up and you have to serve your family regardless of what condition you're in. But if you're just doing a podcast show on how moms should be giving themselves self-love, and it's okay sometimes to not show up and to have someone step in for you because you might need that time, because the next time you show up, you're refreshed, you feel better, you're like not resentful, and you're able to give 110%. So whatever your idea is, I'm telling you, there's an audience for it. They really will need to hear it. But here's another little secret sauce key. I'm a big fan of staying in your lane. So of course, I'm not going to go and talk about dental. And people are always asking me animal questions because my husband's a veterinarian and I have to remind them, I don't know anything about animals. If I were left alone with one trying to feed it, it probably would need a veterinarian. But I stay in my lane, and my lane means I don't know how to produce a show. I don't know the first thing about cover art, intro, outro. I didn't know anything, nor did I want to learn it, because I did not want, that wasn't my zone of genius. And so if you really want to do a show, start reaching out and finding an expert that you are very comfortable with, that you can tell your vision to, and that they can help you get from point A to point B. Otherwise, you're going to have a show out that isn't going to get that extended reach, that isn't going to hit the target market that you're out after. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it probably wasn't packaged in the right packaging and they don't know it's sitting there. So definitely reach out and find find someone that this is their zone of genius. They know what you need. They have that checkbox for you, and they go right down it. And all you're doing is creating that beautiful message that you want to get out there. For those of you who are self-starters and like, I've got this, you go. But that is not me. And I knew that going into it. I didn't want to hate the podcast because I'm struggling figuring out how to edit. I'm struggling on show notes. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of my show that I can't take the credit for. All I do is book the appointments, do the podcast, and I'm done. I put it in the boards for them and they do the rest. So find that person for you. Make an appointment with somebody, contact them, tell them like, this is my vision. What do you think? How do I get here? And let them give you that checklist and help you with it. So hire experts for those things that you're not an expert at, and you will be so much more successful.
Yeah, I love that. We certainly believe that too in our business, because if you can stay in your zone of genius, which is usually as an expert, the content creation, oh my gosh, there's other people that know that their zone of genius is the editing and producing a podcast. So, I think that your show will amplify that because you're in your zone. You're talking about it. You're not stretched beyond your capabilities by having to figure out the editing and the publishing and producing and promoting of it. But then you can just focus on amazing content, and having amazing content and meaningful interviews like your show does, Jen, I think is definitely a huge contributor to the success of it. So you got that one nailed. Good job. Good job on that one. And I'm sure you're glad you're not having to edit those shows.
100% sure I'm not. I'm so excited about it.
That is awesome. I love it. Now I want to pivot the conversation just a little bit to your health coaching. So now our audience is, be thinking about people podcasting or who are going to be podcasting and, are busy entrepreneurs already. What are some health things that we can do to really make sure that we're maximizing our energy and in feeling really present with it when we are creating that content?
So I'm more of a mindset coach than a health coach, but let me tell you, mindset is the key. It's like, think of it at the top of your head, spreading out everywhere and creating what it is that you want in there. So I'm all about mindset. And if you want to be successful at podcasting, or you want to be a successful blogger, or in your coaching business, the first thing I would tell you to do is start plastering it everywhere. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing messages to my brain that it's picking up, reminding me where I'm going. Then create that blueprint. Create a blueprint for health, for what it is that you're trying to reach or where you're expanding to. Create that blueprint in your brain, because it doesn't know any different. It does not know that you haven't been to the successful place. It doesn't know that you have an obstacle to get there unless you tell it, oh, what if I can't do this because of this? I'm so scared. I don't know. Will I be successful? Will they laugh at me? Then your brain starts picking up all the wrong messages for that blueprint. So create a beautiful blueprint in your brain to where you want to go, how you want to feel when you get there, how you want your listeners to feel. I knew exactly how I wanted my listeners to feel. One of the things about being a mindset coach is when I'm talking to a client, they are a very specific avatar. I stay in my lane. I work in mindset coaching and I know who they are. So if I were in a crowd of people and I could hear chattering all around, my avatar says 2 key words and it's like my antennas pop up and I'm like, doot, 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 turning around thinking, oh my gosh, that's my person over there. I got to go. I want to chat with them. So it's the same with podcasting or selling a product, or we just launched a magazine this year and they're all different avatars and I know exactly who they are. They have a face, they have a name. When you're doing a podcast, you want to make sure that you have an avatar. Who are you trying to help? Who are you targeting with that message? Because if I'm targeting, for instance, a bunch of vegetarians, but I'm throwing steak on their plate at every episode, they're going to tune out because they keep telling me we don't eat meat. Well, how about pork? No, we're vegans. We don't eat that. But I keep feeding them the wrong thing because that's not my target market. So the minute you know who your message is for and who you want to serve with that message, I'm telling you, it's like angels start singing behind you because they get it. It doesn't matter. I know when people listen to my show, there's a percentage of the people who are saying, "Ugh, I didn't really like that. It wasn't for me." There's a percentage of the people are like, that was okay. I kind of like that. I got a couple things. But my target market is walking away on cloud nine thinking, oh my gosh, she must have known something was going on in my life today. She heard me somehow, and that message was specifically for me, because that's all I do is talk to my target market.
I love that. That's really powerful. And you said something there about knowing your audience really well and knowing exactly what they love, what they don't love. And I love the analogy of the vegetarian and the meat. That was really great. But I love that worry that, you're not gonna, if you're staying in your lane and you're talking, to specifically your audience, you can pick up, they know exactly what you're saying. It's how they feel. And when you said that, I wanted to just bring that up again to make sure that our listeners heard that. So it's how you're making your listeners feel when they're listening to your show. So not necessarily what they're getting from the show, by listening, but it's like how they're feeling when they leave. Like you said, they're on cloud nine when they leave their show. That is amazing. I think that is the ultimate goal of all of us podcasters, to really have an audience that leaves feeling like we heard exactly what they were wanting to hear, and that we delivered exactly what they needed at that exact moment. Because after all, a listener of a podcast, they're in the earbuds thinking that they're in a conversation, and all they want to do is be a part of that conversation. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that was really, really powerful. Any last bit of advice, Jana, for our listeners today?
Get started. If you want to do a podcast, there are people out there in the world that are literally waiting for your message. So get started. And there's going to be bumps. Like it did not start out beautiful for me, and I've had to pivot a lot. But I'm also okay with pivoting, because to me that's growth. And I'm okay with those bumps, because again, to me that's growth. So if you are holding that message inside of you, nobody's going to hear it. And I have this quote that I use all the time: if you are the best expert in the world, like the best at what you do, if nobody knows who you are, who are you really helping? So get your message out there and start. You'll get those listeners one at a time. And then the next thing you know, you'll be celebrating 100,000 downloads.
Right? Yes. Congratulations. We're going to bring it back on and celebrate that when we get to 100,000. I think that is so cool. And, a lot of clients, when they first launch a show and they're like, oh, I had only 100 downloads this episode. It's like, well, great. But guess what? If you had 100 downloads and 100 people standing in your living room, you'd be super excited, right? So it's not the numbers game. And you said that earlier too. It's not about the numbers. It's about the impact that you're making with those listeners. And I think the feeling, have them feeling, walking away feeling like having a feeling is going to bring them back over and over again. Amazing. So Jen, I know you have a special gift for us. And can you tell us what that is?
I do. I have a mindset, change your mindset in 5 days. And by the way, it's just the starting of changing a mindset. Your mind is so incredible, but I want you to learn some habits of making some quick changes so that you stop blocking yourself. Because if you haven't started a podcast and you want to, or you haven't gotten as successful as you wanted in your business, I promise you the only person in your way is you. So I want you to see that, recognize it, and start creating that mindset pattern that creates change in your life. So you can definitely go to my website and get that re-mindset.
Awesome. And we will definitely put that in the show notes as well. But it's at jannashort.com/changing your mindset. So make sure you guys go check that out. And also go and check out Jana's show, Oh My Health, There Is Hope, and leave her a review, and definitely help her get to that 100,000 download mark. So Jana, thank you so much for being with us today. I've enjoyed our conversation. I've learned some great tips of how you've made such a success in your show. And I look forward to chatting with you again.
Thank you.
All right, Amplify You audience. Until next time, be great and enjoy your week.